Hey.
Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Hey, hello, how are you? Before we get into this story time-ish video, I just wanted to say I love you guys. Thank you for all of the really nice comments on my last video on consent that I put up last week. Yeah, it's just fresh on my mind, so I just wanted to say thank you guys for all of the love. I was just overwhelmed with love, basically, in the comments. So be sure to leave your feedback on this video in the comments down below, and give it a thumbs up if you're even enjoying it so far. I didn't know, what, has this video been going on for even a minute yet? Probably not. I like when you guys comment that you liked the video before the video even started. You're a real one. You're a real one out there. What else can I say in this intro before we get into it? Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I make videos like this every Wednesday. Okay, is that good? Can we start now? Great. As you read in the title, today's video is a story time. I'm going to be doing another Uber video, Uber Stories with Meg, because about a year ago, it's about to be our anniversary of my first Uber Stories video. So then I was watching that the other day and I was just like, wow, honestly, people really enjoyed this video and I have so many more stories to tell because like I said, that was a year ago and I've been still taking Uber, still letting creepy, crazy, and weird things happen to me, all of the above. It's all in the fun of the trip, honestly. When I get into an Uber, I am prepared for whatever comes my way, and most of the time they're just funny stories. I don't think there's too many like creepy stories in here. Couple, just crazy ones, just wild. People are wild. All right, let's get into, I think, the craziest one. That's what I'm gonna start off with to just grab your attention. And all these stories are 100% real. I'm not pulling your leg on any of them. These really happened to me. I know, I'm funny. So this is when I lived in Koreatown and my Uberman picked me up from there, and this would happen often. Like, men who picked me up who knew the area would be like, ma'am, are you okay here? So the man who picked me up this time basically asked me that same question and was like, yeah, I used to actually live around here. It's kind of unsafe, but I'm sure they've cleaned it up now. Like, they would always say that after they would tell me it was unsafe. I'm sure it's fine now though. But I was like, yeah, a bunch of other Uber drivers have told me that before too, but like, why was it unsafe? Like, what was happening? And he was like, oh, just gang stuff mostly. Like, I used to be in a gang and I would hang out around here. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, nice. And he just kept going, like kept spilling his life story basically. Like, I didn't encourage him to tell me these things. He was just spilling all the beans. So basically he told me that he was in jail until like a couple months before he had started driving Uber. And he was like, yeah, I just got out of jail a little while ago. I used to work at Ralph's actually, just like bagging groceries. That's like our main grocery store here in California. And he was like, yeah, but I'm driving Uber now because I got fired for lying on my application about never going to jail. And I was like, shit, dude, how did they find out, Did they like look at your permanent record? What happened there? How did they know? And he was like, nah, my coworker actually, I opened up to him about being in jail and he told my boss on me, so can't really trust anybody. And now I'm realizing that he can't trust me with his stories because I'm telling it to all of you. Fuck. But yeah, basically we were just talking about his jail time and why he got in there. He said he had been in the past, but then he went for a longer amount of time because he got charged with robbery. He told me literally how he used to rob places. Like, I remember pulling up to the curb, we were about to make a right turn, and there was like a shopping complex on the corner, and he pointed to this one place and was like, you see that jewelry store? Me and my boys, we would, pull up, I would let them go and assess who was working in there, if it was a woman, if it was a man, what we needed to do to like rob it. And he was like, I would stay in the car, they would go inside, and then they would come out with whatever they could steal, money, whatever, and they would hide it in a bush, and then we would run away and get in the car and leave so that if we did get pulled over with the car, they wouldn't have any of the goods inside, so they wouldn't really be able to prove it. I think that's basically what he was saying. And now I'm just realizing that I told you guys how to rob a place, so I should probably just go on to the next story. But yeah, basically this guy was super wild and I was just pretty entertained the entire time, and then I got to like a work event and I was just like, wow, what a change of pace. All right, this next story is just honestly funny. I got into this car with this one guy and we were just having, pretty good conversation, just, the usual banter that you have with Uber drivers. So he ended up asking me where I was from. And after I told him I'm from outside of Atlanta, he like broke out into a song. It wasn't even really a song, it was kind of more so like a rap. And it was just very unexpected. Like, it took such an unexpected turn. I just thought we were gonna continue having small talk, and instead he was like, ooh, yeah, ATL. Like, Like, I don't even remember what he was saying, but it was so weird. And I remember his voice was so loud that I was on Snapchat, like recording him just loudly speaking of things. You know those people who just don't know how loud they're being? Like, I felt like he was one of those people. But yeah, he was very, very like flamboyant and energetic and just over the top. He was like singing and rapping and just talking really passionately to me about politics. He was like talking shit on his friends too, and like I don't know who he's talking about, you know. He was like, oh, my friend Judy, like she's just crazy. Oh my god, it was just like going on, and he was just a lot. But I just thought it was so absurd that he broke out into a rap when I mentioned the word Atlanta. Like, were you really that triggered by Atlanta and the hip-hop business in there that you just thought that you should go into song? I don't get it. I just realized I'm spending way too much time telling each of these stories, so I'm just gonna try to wrap it up a little bit. Wrap it up. So this story happened at like the beginning of the summer. Basically, I just had to go to Petco. So I ordered an Uber, and the guy who accepted was smoking hot. And when I say smoking hot, I mean, wow, this man was so hot. His name was Jace. So Jace, if you're watching this, you know, call me. I hate myself. If you actually see this, Jace, I'm so sorry. But basically, when you accepted my ride, Jace, I was so overwhelmed at how good looking you were. I screenshotted it, and I'm going to put it here for all of you to see because gorgeous, gorgeous man. So basically, he picked me up, I got in the car, we were having this great conversation. I was just so into it because I was so into him, you know? I remember we were talking about like spirituality and his beliefs, and I was just like, wow, I am really getting to know this man right now. Like, it was a great conversation. I wish I could have it again, honestly, over maybe a cup of coffee. Jace wants to call me, so. But yeah, the beginning of this story is just super average. I was basically just talking to a very good looking man, and he took me to Petco. And so then I was like, all right, Jace, really great talking to you. He didn't ask for my number, I didn't ask for his, even though I wanted to. And I was just, like I said, I was so into it. So when I was leaving the car, I was like, it's really over, me and Jace, you know? So then I go inside, and I made like a super quick trip. Like, I only needed to get like 2 things or less. So I was in and out of there pretty quickly. And then I was standing outside of Petco with my stuff, ready to go home, ordered another Uber, and it was Jace. And I thought, wow, if this isn't a sign from the universe, I don't know what is. I was so excited. And then I looked over, and he was like waiting for me in the parking lot. Like, he had just stayed there. I walked over to the car, and I was like, you know, the awkward, like, you again, hey. And I remember when I got back in the car, he was like, I wasn't creepily waiting for you, okay? I just need to take a quick break. I need to listen to some voicemails. And then I got an Uber request, and it just happened to be you. And I was just like, all right, buddy. But in my head, I was telling myself, he waited for me. It's destiny. I don't even know what the point of me telling you this is, because there wasn't like anything absurd that happened. It was just basically me talking to a very stunning man and then missing an opportunity to go out with him in the future because I didn't ask for his number, he didn't ask for mine. Fuck. All right, this next story happened to me when I was in Vegas, and so this is like the most recent story because I was there a couple of weeks ago for Life is Beautiful. And before I even ordered my first Uber, because this was my first, you know, Vegas Uber ride, I was like, fuck. I mean, I've seen Tana's videos just telling about her creepy Uber drivers, and Tana lives in Vegas, so probably I'm gonna get kind of a whack job. Like, I braced myself for the experience I was gonna have. And so lo and behold, I got kind of a crazy lady. She was honestly very, very entertaining, but she was just so wacky. I was living for it. I haven't used that word in so long, wacky. She was just a wacky gal. God, I really wish I could remember her name, but basically, she was just like telling me also her life story. Uber drivers like tend to do that with me. Like, they tend to just open it up and just put it all out on the table, and I'm like, okay. But I remember her telling me that she had like a radio station, and she would play her baby's music all the time, and I was like, is she talking about like her man? And then I got, after a while of her talking about it, she was talking about her man. I think his name was like Trayvon, or Trey for short or something. But the entire ride was basically her like pointing out little details about Trey that she saw as like universal signs. You know what I mean? Like when you see on a billboard like their favorite color or something, and you're like, oh my god, my baby. So literally the entire ride she was just pointing out little quirks about Trey. Like, I don't know Trey, you know? I've never met that man in my life. I don't know that his favorite number is is 84, and she saw it on like somebody's license plate and was like, oh my god, Trey, 84 is my baby's number. And I was just like, okay. I didn't even know what to respond back to her. We couldn't really have that great of a conversation because she was so distracted by Trey. He was in Africa at the time, she said, so I think she was just missing him. But yeah, shout out to that lady. She was very entertaining, honestly. So entertaining enough that I wanted to tell this story to you guys. All right, this next story is honestly just scary. Like, this is why I don't like putting my life in the hands of a stranger, because of times like this. So I'm gonna try to tell this pretty quickly, but basically Lindsay and I were coming home from seeing a movie together, and so we ordered an Uber and we were headed back downtown, and the man who picked us up was driving so reckless, and he just seemed almost like he was on like either a lot of caffeine or a lot of cocaine. Like, he was just like bugging out, kind of. He just seemed very like on edge, so he was driving very on edge. Maybe he was just like angry or something. I don't even know what this guy's deal was, but I remember that we were about to take a left turn and he was about to miss the turn, so he like slammed on his brakes and just like waited next to the left turning lane because it was super late at night, so like nobody was behind him, but there was a car who was going to make the left turn like before us, and for some reason he thought that he could like cut them off on the turn, even though, keep in mind, he wasn't in the left turning lane, he was just next to it. So his plan in his mind was to accelerate so fast when the light turned green for us to turn that he cut this person off and like turned in front of them rather than just waiting and turning behind them. Like, I don't understand what his logic was. He was trying to kill us, basically. I'm convinced he was trying to kill us because he just like whipped that turn and tried to like accelerate in front of this person, and I just remember they like blared their horn at him and we literally almost got into like a collision. And Lindsay and I were both so shaken up after, and the guy was just like, sorry. And we were like, it's okay, man, but we were looking at each other like, what the fuck? And he also drove a stick shift, so every time he would like put it into a different gear, we would like fly back like this, you know? So that was just the general vibe of the ride, was us feeling like super unsafe, and he was just driving like a maniac. And I remember something else happened before the ride was over, like he ran a red light or something, and then before we got out of the car when the ride was finally over, he turned around and was like, I'm so sorry for that, ladies. Like, I hope that you will find it in your hearts to not give me 1 star. And I like looked at Lindsay and was like, yeah, no, we won't, because I think I ordered the Uber. So I was gonna be the one rating him, and honestly, I think that I gave him 1 star because I was 1, scared for my life, and 2, scared for anybody else's life who gets into that man's car. I don't care if it was a bad night for him. He was doing some weird shit. He just seemed like he shouldn't be on the roads at all, so that's why I gave him 1 star. But I don't do that all the time. Most of my rides are 5-star rides. Let me just put that out there, okay? All right, this last story is one of my favorite stories to tell. That's why I saved it for last. And basically this happened to me when I was visiting home in Georgia. This was like one of the last days that I was there, and it was Father's Day, I remember. And I was just going over to say goodbye to Gina. That's whose place I was going over to. Some of you might know Gina. I've spoken of her before or shown her before in vlogs and stuff. Anyways, she lives in Atlanta. My parents' house is about 25 minutes outside of the city, so I needed to order an Uber to get to her. So I ordered this Uber. The guy shows up in my driveway, and when I get into the car, he's like on the phone with somebody. And right when I get in, he turns around and was like, oh, do you want to talk to Megan? And I was like looking at him like, what? Why would I want to talk to whoever he's on the phone with? Like, what? But I was like, okay, and started like reaching for the phone, and then he was like, I'm just kidding, never mind. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk. All right, bye. And then he just like hung up, and I was looking at him like, what? And I think I go, who was that? And he was like, oh, it was my son. And so then after I figured it out that they were probably talking about Father's Day, I was like, so how's your Father's Day going? You know, how's it been for you? Just making small talk. And he literally responded with good, and it was just like breaking out into a song like that other guy who I was just telling you guys about. It's so funny when people like sing their answers and you don't know them as a person, so you don't know that that's gonna happen, so you're just like, okay. I think I actually do that to people sometimes too. Like, I'll just sing responses to things. Anyways, he just started breaking out into song, and I was like, what the even hell? And we were still in my driveway at this point. We had not even started the trip, and so this man had already started off on a wild note, and then we were just making small talk for the rest of the trip, and then we were about to turn onto the highway. And before that even happens, I remember he just like joked around about being on acid. And keep in mind, this man was at least in his 50s or 60s. Like, he was an old dad. And then he went on and was like, you know, sometimes I just take a couple of hits of acid before I drive into the city because, you know, it makes the lights prettier. And I was just in the back seat like, what? Is he serious right now? Is he really on a... Am I okay? I don't even know what I said in response. I literally think I just giggled and then felt so uncomfortable for the rest of the ride. I was just like fearing for my life that I was just sitting there with my headphones in like, what is going on? But I made it downtown in one piece and I was fine. So, you know, I guess he wasn't really on acid, or maybe he was just really good at driving on acid. But either way, I'm not trying to encourage you to do anything on drugs. Don't drive on drugs. Don't drive on anything, you know? Please, I care about your safety, all right? So that's the end of those stories. Ubers are weird, man. You know, I kind of have pretty balanced, like, good drivers and then wacko drivers. And so I figured, why not tell you about all my wacko drivers? And I did just include that one story about me talking to a hot guy. So either way, I just hope you enjoyed these stories. I hope that they were moderately entertaining for you. And if they were, give this video a big thumbs up for me. Also, follow me on Twitter, because I tweet about all of these things when they're actually happening. So if you want to like be in the loop, then do that. I'll put my username here. Also, subscribe if you're not already. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I make new videos every Wednesday. See, now I'm that guy. I'm that singing guy that just sings randomly. All right, I'm gonna see myself out now. Hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you in my next video. Okay, stay smiling. Bye.
I'ma do this till I'm 102. Why try to stunt when we stunting on you? Stunting it over.